I know you have to go soon to coach, but I do
Okay.
want to finish with your snowboarding story and how you recovered from your injury, because it's just so inspiring for any athlete out there who has been injured or is currently injured to still do something and train around it, and to not just get injury free, but to come back with a stronger, more resilient body. And I truly believe injury is a time where you can come back and level up to someone greater than you were before injury. So that's why I love your story. And I want you to finish with that and share it for everyone.
I feel like this is the highlight reel.
Can't
So
wait.
wow. So if I can, I'm gonna share a like 30-second different story about immunity because I'm getting pings like, hey, what about immunity? Because like we keep on speaking about bone broth and like all these like hocus pocus stuff. So on Thursday, I was cheers. On Thursday, I
Cheers.
was feeling very sick. Something was going around, and like everyone that I know, we all like went camping together, like a whole community weekend. Everyone on the weekend got sick from whatever it is.
Yeah, there's something going around here. Like
Oh
all
yeah,
my
maybe
athletes were
it's the
sick
world.
except me.
Yeah. Oh, nice. So I did get sick. I had like terrible fever. 24 hours later, I wasn't at full capacity, but I was primarily back to myself. But the entire time, I was doing like every holistic possible thing to beat it. Oregano oil, bee propolis, raw honey, ginger, lemon, sunshine. I wasn't just sitting on my butt doing nothing. And I'm not at 100% yet, which is odd because I normally recover within 2 days. It's almost like 5 days later. But I'm working, I'm talking, I'm podcasting, I'm book writing. Everyone's still sick. Everyone's still lying in bed, canceling their work. I can't move from bed. And I'm like telling them, like, get out and go to the sunshine. Like, if you're going to look at yourself, oh, I'm this little, frail little item object, which your body is not, then yeah, you're gonna wallow in self misery. But if you get out and do what you can, I barely loaded this week from a strength training session because my body told me, Sean, do not load now, because if I did some light mobility on the ground, I didn't feel so good. So I'm like, okay, this is the most I can do. Moving on to snowboard story, but just immunity and recovery, they kind of go hand in hand. Better is better. It's funny, I literally wrote in my notebook before the podcast, it's likely that more is better. It's like the same thing as you said. The more I can do to recover if I'm sick or hurt or injured, good, do it. I can't do my regular training, no problem. I can sit and I can sit in the ground, do some breath work, do it. I can take my dog for a walk, and that's my training for the day. That's fine. If you're injured, you're injured. Snowboarding story. So I'm Sean, and besides being a performance coach, I am a very, very avid lover of life, athlete, adventurer. I play ultimate frisbee a few times a week. I hike every week. I run barefoot every week. I strength train in the gym about 3, 4 times a week. I slackline, juggle, play football, flag football, tackle football, rugby, mostly barefoot because I'm the barefoot athlete. And Sarah, me and my wife, we go regularly to snowboard every year in different European countries. And it's kind of a great outlet for us because it's not just a snowboarding trip. It's actually a break from our, I don't want to call it grind because I love what I do, but break from making Instagrams and making podcasts and training people and writing the book and running the Barefoot Review. And we have lots of stress in our life. So I try to use it as an opportunity to actually have my phone off as much as possible, take a break from social media, and just be as present as I can. So there's a lot of emotional investment in these trips. 2 years ago, we had just finished the World Championships in flag football, which is level wise. There's the Olympics, there's the World Games, which is for all non-Olympic sports, and the World Championships. So whatever we placed in that, not me as a coach, but my players, my athletes, whatever Israel places in that World Championships decides our Olympic status in 2028. 6-month training campaign, multiple teams, multiple training sessions. It was a lot of load on me. And the moment the World Championships finished, I said, okay, Sarah, let's go. We're going to Bulgaria for a snowboarding trip. And I was so excited to take this break from work that I bought myself a season pass. So like I actually got there a week before Sarah because she had still had work that she couldn't move. I'm like, Sarah, I'm sorry. Forgive me. I need to get out of Israel. Like I just need if I'm home or if I'm in my office or gym, I'm working. So I just need to like pick up and go. So I picked up and went. I got myself a season pass the first day. I got myself a new board, new helmet, new boots, ready to shred. She gets it. She's a border girl too. Okay, so I'm boarding first. Like there's always like a day of breaking time, like breaking him back to the slopes, breaking team board. So I had a day or two or three of switching from goofy to regular. For those who aren't familiar, goofy is when you ride switch, where you're less strong, where your other leg is in front, trying to like get out of that rut of intermediate border to advanced border. And it was a new board. I was riding goofy, and I tried to like 360 on the snow, not in the air, and the board wasn't really flexible yet. So I fell with a complete outstretched hand on the mountain. This is after about 3 days of boarding, and I completely pass out on the mountain. I wake up, I don't know, a few seconds later, a few minutes later, to skiers like, "Yo, you okay, man?" And I'm like, "No," terribly nauseous. I just blacked out on the mountain. Luckily, it was like a blue slope. I'm not doing so good, but my friend is like somewhere. I think he went ahead of me. I didn't even have service there. Remember, I didn't want to be on my phone. Can you call him and maybe he'll like come pick me up? So they call him. He goes back at the lift, comes, picks me. He's like, "I was looking for you. I was waiting for the bottom. I didn't see you. So I just went up the gondola again." And he's like, "What do you want to do? Do you want to call the evac, like the ambulance, snowball?" I'm like, "No, no, no. I'm hiking down this mountain." So it turns out after I broke my collarbone and dislocated my shoulder. So he's holding my snowboard. I'm holding my shoulder in my hand, hiking down the snow mountain, which is like pretty steep. You can't really hike it down in snowboard boots, but I just did because I said to myself the second it happened, I think I came to this like conclusion, like either I can wallow in misery for the rest of this trip and be like, "Oh, my hand," or I just have a great time. I'm remembering it right now. So I hiked down that mountain, and the entire time I was laughing. And my friend Itai, he's like, "Why are you laughing?" I'm like, "This is so much fun." I was probably having like major adrenaline.
Yeah,
Like my body,
totally.
I, I did not feel any pain. I did not feel any pain. I was more like just laughing and like just laughing, crying. I'm like, "This is so much fun. We should hike instead of snowboarding all the time." So we hike down the mountain. I get to this, sketchy snowboard clinic. I'm sure all of you have been, hopefully not, but if you've ever snowboarded or skied, you've probably been there once or twice. The doctor's like, some Bulgarian guy. He's like, "It is. I don't know what it is. I don't know how to read X-ray." So I'm like, "Let me read my X-ray. I got it." So I see like a clear crack. Like it wasn't a full break, thankfully, thank the Lord, because that wouldn't have been fun. But I see a clear crack in the clavicle, which is the collarbone, and they also see that the AC joint was completely like sitting like very very bent. So I said, "Look, I'm not a doctor. You're the professional here." Which by the way completely made me lose my faith in doctors, but I already was on that train for quite a while. um, I think this is what it is. He's like, "Yes, this is probably right." So my insurance didn't really kick in. I never got refunded for that visit, but he like did something with my shoulder, pushed it back in place, put me in a sling, and said, "No movement for 6 weeks. Keep it in a sling, keep it immobilized." And when you sleep, and you have to sleep like in this kind of like dislocated way in order to prevent the bone from like not healing. So at night was not fun. Like lots of pain. I didn't take painkiller. I don't encourage being a hero in this stage. Like if you're in terrible pain and like you're suffering, do what you got to do, man. I personally don't want to put painkiller in my body, so I chose to suffer rather than take painkiller. Personal decision. Like I'm not promoting that. I don't want to come off as too extreme. The first few nights was very, very painful, but every single day, the first day or two, I wore my sling and I'd walk to the slopes. I'd walk to the restaurants. I walked out and about, said hi to the dogs. It was my right hand, which is my dominant hand. I went to the gym every day. The day after, I went to the gym every day. I did my mobility. I trained my left arm. By the way, because we're speaking about recovery, there is a concept of phantom limb training. So I was literally sitting on the machines that I never touched in my life and just doing like one arm chest presses, one armed rows, because I was like, "Hey, I can't train my right hand, but what if I can keep my mind sane by training? What if I can still train?" So I was doing squat. This is not the day after, maybe like 2 days later, once like I wasn't in terrible pain, but I was biking on like the recumbent bike. I was pressing and pulling with the non-injured limb. I was doing sissy squats, pistol squats, lunges, dragon squats, all within my capacity of whatever my lower body could do. I wasn't able to put any load on my upper body because of the injury. So I just kept on doing like very, very advanced bodyweight movements. Keep in mind that a great way to maintain your strength and power without load is pistol squats, like ways to load the body that are loading your body weight. So all these sorts of like advanced variations, really starting to have fun with things that I never really tried before. Then about 3 days later, or 2.5 days later, I took off the sling and I'm like, "You know what? This sling is not doing me good. I'm losing feeling in my wrist. I'm losing feeling in my elbow. My elbow's been it was literally my elbows are stuck in this position for so long." I said, "I'll just be careful." So I took off the sling. and I haven't put it back. I remember the doctor said 6 weeks, no sling. Um, and over that course of those like 3, 4, 5 days until Sarah came, I went to the sauna. I did like all the hot cold. I did sauna and hot bath every day. There was a cryo chamber in the hotel. There was a Turkish bath. There was a jacuzzi. I did everything I could very carefully. I stayed happy. I prayed. I walked. I socialized. I worked out as much as possible. I hot cold every day. And about 3 days later, my uh, go getter mentality was like, okay, I don't have the slopes. I need another. I don't want a drug. I don't want to call it a drug. I need a stimulus. So I spoke to a friend of mine. The same friend was with me on that snowboarding trip, and I said, "There's a hut at the top of the mountain where there's a guy who serves tea for the people who make it there. Let's do it." So we took the gondola up to like the third way point to the mountain, and I hiked. I wore my barefoot hiking boots, which have very little warmth, very little traction. He brought his snowboard so we could like snowboard some of the down parts, and we hiked I think for like 5, 6 hours until we got to the hut. And we got to the hut, this little hut, and he served us some tea. He's like, "How did you get here? Where's your equipment?" And I actually had put my sling back on for the hike because I didn't want like my shoulder to move that much. He's like, "What's wrong with you?" So I showed him my stick. I had taken like this antique ski pole from a shop, just as like a crutch, so I wouldn't like slip, because if I slipped, it wouldn't end well for my shoulder. I'm like, "I hiked here by foot." He's like, "What do you mean? Everyone who comes here, they come in snowshoes and they come in, snowboard and ski pants and this." I'm like, "I just hiked here." He's like, "Okay, cool." So we had our tea, and then as we were hiking down, we missed the gondola. So it's like, okay, we have to hike down this mountain. 3 days after a collarbone break, and the way down is one of those like really really bad snowboard paths, like great for skiers but bad for snowboarders, like super icy, super windy, no real downhill. So we hiked for another like 5, 6 hours, pitch dark. I can't see. My arm is immobilized in my sling, and I'm just laughing, and I'm just having the time of my life because I think I don't know, this is not like a confirmed feat, but I think I was the first person to hike to that peak in Bulgaria, the Musala Peak it's called, unsupported, meaning like no snowshoes, no gear, no snowboard, no skis, just me. And that was one of the best things I did because that set the tone for the rest of my trip. Because Sarah had just come the day later. She's like, "Oh no, you hurt yourself again? I thought you stopped playing tackle football." And I was like, "Babe, you have a great time. You go snowboard, hit it up with the friends. I'm just gonna hang around the hotel, work out. I'll see you in the evening. We'll have dinner together." And she still had a 2 week trip. So I wasn't gonna cancel my trip and lie in misery and go back to Israel. So for the next 2 weeks, I hiked, walked, stayed sane. But that trip changed my life because not only did it show me that like you still can do many things even if you're injured, but it actually like it just set that happiness, giddiness, fun vibes for the rest of the trip. Here's where it gets better. I got back to Israel, and I went to. This is the probably last time I went to a doctor. I figured maybe I should go to like a real doctor in a hospital just to get an opinion, as opposed to this dude who like probably like printed a certificate from literally like West third world countries. And the doctor's like, "Dude, your break is like all I see is the AC joint dislocation. Like your break is like mostly healed. Like it's not even a big deal." I'm like, I showed him the old X-ray. He's like, "I'll take it." He sent me the new X-ray. He's like, "Don't worry about it. AC joint dislocation. That's what's happening now." And he just told me like the same thing. Like here, go to a PT in 2 weeks, like the regular protocol. And I think so. So the doctor said I have to be in a sling for 6 weeks. And 6 weeks later, I was back to doing full capacity pull-ups. 8 weeks later, I was back to overhead pressing my body weight, 80 kilo. Okay, that's I don't know, 200 pounds. And then that winter, it snowed in Israel. So about 2 months later, 8 weeks later, same week as I was able to overhead press, I brought my snowboard out and I went to the park. It's not a snowboarding park, it's just a regular park. I took my dog and I just slid down the hill on my snowboard. And I said to myself, if I stayed in that sling, I would be so atrophied now. I wouldn't be able to do anything. I wouldn't be able to train. I wouldn't be able to walk. I wouldn't be able to board. 2 months later, I'm boarding. So once again, for those listening, cool story, right? This is an extreme example of someone who prioritizes their health every single day for the past 10 years. When you do that, your body gives back. It says, "Sean, I got you." And when you prioritize your health every single day of that injury, what you eat, how you sleep, what you drink, immerse yourself physically, spiritually, and emotionally, stay training, I can probably guarantee you that you're going to bounce back much quicker. And I've proven it with myself. And yeah, that's it. Stop study. Brings a lot of
Oh my
emotions. Yeah.
gosh, that story was incredible, and I just love how the doctor was like, "Yeah, stay in a sling, don't move for 6 weeks." Meanwhile, you're hiking up and down mountains practically barefoot.
Yeah, it was
But
fun.
then you come back, like, stronger than you were, and
Oh,
your
hell yeah.
muscles didn't atrophy, and you stayed active, you kept strong, and I just think that's such a powerful message to end on and to give people who are injured hope, and hope in your body and trust in your body that you can train it, and the body is so adaptive, and that's the great news. And man, Sean, that was such a great story. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah. Like I don't know. I can't remember. I did heat cold every day. I prayed every day. I journaled every day. I breathworked every day. I can't pinpoint one of these practices and say this is the magic fix. But if you're doing as many as you can, especially the ones we spoke about both in this podcast and previous podcasts, you're making serious changes in your body. You're definitely checking off the things you need to do to recover adequately, both through injury and through just general soreness and recovery.
I also love that you stayed positive and you were like, look, like I hurt myself, but I'm on this trip. My wife is about to arrive too, and I don't want to ruin it for everyone. So I'm just going to do the best I can and try and make the most of it. And I just think that's also a really good message.
There's a funny ending to the story too. This will be perhaps the edited part out. So we also got corona in the last few days of the trip. All of us, like mutual hotel corona, and yeah, we all were sick. So I got back to Israel with corona, and they tested me in Israel because it was like before and after, and we had it. And then when I wanted to go to the hospital for my collarbone, they didn't let me because I had corona. And I was like, no, no, you don't understand. Like my collarbone's broken. I just want to get a specialist opinion so we can. Literally, like I broke my bone. Like here's my X-ray. You want to see it? Like no, no, you can't. You have to stay at home and just sit on your butt for 7 days. And I was like, this is the epitome of stupidity because Corona's legit. I had it. I wasn't feeling well, but like I have a broken bone. Now most people this would be like life or death situation. For me, I was chilling, right? But it's better to go see the doctor, even if you have Corona or pneumonia or whatever, than just sit at your home with your broken bone. So there was like this such a warped sense of health.
Yeah.
And then I got permission. I knocked on my doctor's office. I said, hey, I know I have corona. You don't have to go near me. My mask is on. Can you please can you let me go to the hospital, please? And then there was a waste of
Wow.
time, but I did it more as a precaution. Like I didn't know what my bone was, where it was holding, whatever.
Good thing you knew how to self heal.
Yeah,
But,
I
like,
wouldn't have healed.
someone else in that situation would have thrown a fit. They would have been like, "What do you mean you can't see me? My bone's broken."
Yeah,
So, I think
yeah,
it's
whatever.
it's kinda funny. But,
Good vibes
man,
only.
this
Yeah.
this was such a great episode, and I really hope you guys enjoyed it and you were taking notes. I was
100%.
taking mental notes. This was just so valuable, and I really think it's going to help people realize how strong their bodies are and just some extra things they can do on top of the basics to really maximize recovery. So, thank you, Sean, and everyone. I'll see you on next week's episode.